Hi and welcome back. This is our second video on proteins, and this video will talk about the amount of proteins we need. What is the RDA for protein, and specifically for you and your activity levels, how much protein should you be getting? So for this one, I would like you to do some calculations. So go ahead and grab a pencil or pen, or if you want to type it out, you may on the place that you're taking notes. You also might need your calculator, your phone up as your calculator. So what is the RDA? What's a recommended amount of protein that we're supposed to consume per day? The equation is in kilograms. So if you weighed 200 pounds, you would weigh about half of that in kilograms. So the equation is 2.2 pounds equals 1 kilogram. So what we are asked to consume, what is considered to be a good level, is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram per day. Now you might be thinking that's pretty generic. Why should everybody consume the same amount if they're all 150 pounds, if they are exercising differently, or if they have different goals in regards to gaining or losing? And you are correct. So this is the generic go-to equation, and I'll show you some other equations as well. So if person A weighs 150 pounds, how much protein should they consume a day? So first you would need to take 150 and divide it by 2.2. That way you would get their weight in kilograms, and then you would multiply 0.8 times their weight in kilograms. This person should consume 54.54 grams of protein per day. But wait, what about athletes? What about people who are moving? What about people who are training? What about people who are lifting? Should they consume more protein? Hopefully you are shaking your head yes. So the overall protein and specific amino acid requirements are different. They're higher for people who are moving more so, who are not sedentary, who are trying to gain, who are trying to get more powerful, who are working on endurance. And so there are three equations that I'll show you, and I would like you to choose. Are you more of a normal person who does normal activity levels? Are you more so working on your endurance, or are you more so working on your strength? There are other calculated equations as well, but these are the ones that are easiest, and so we'll go ahead and go with this. So within these three allowances for or recommendations for the amount of protein consumed per day per kilogram of weight, this also is dependent on your training status, your energy intake, adequate total number of calories, adequate number of carbohydrates being consumed, the intensity of your training, the newness of your training stimulus. So this also is dependent on a lot of things. So like a lot of nutrition research, the answer is, well, it depends, right? Okay, so say that this person is the same person as in before. Person A weighs 150 pounds. You would get their weight into kilograms. So go ahead right now and write your weight in pounds and divide it by 2.2 to get your weight in kilograms. Then decide, where do you best fit? 0.8, are you a little bit in between normal and working in endurance? Maybe you go 0.9 or 1.0. Are you endurance? Are you strength? Choose how many grams of protein per kilogram of weight you think that you should consume per day, and go ahead and figure out your recommended daily allowance of protein. So if you see utilizing the three equations, person A, who is not doing a lot of movement activity, should be consuming 54.5 grams of protein per day. If they, however, become a strength athlete and they're trying to work on strength or increase muscle mass, they should be more than doubling their consumed grams of protein per day. They should go up to 122.74. So when we do our nutrition analysis project, which I will explain in the next few weeks, you're going to be recording 3 days worth of what you consume. It will tell you suggestions, and when it tells you how much protein you should get, it's going to be using the 0.8 grams per kilogram. So when you do your analysis, don't analyze it as this, analyze it as what you think that you really are. So when you do your analysis, if you ate 40 grams of protein in one day, but you're really working on here, then you would say, I am severely under in my daily grams of protein, and I need to be eating more. If you are not doing muscle body weight activities, and you're not doing a lot of endurance training, and you're consuming this much protein a day, then your analysis would say, hey, I'm eating a lot more protein than I need to. So when you analyze it for yourself, not for the everyday average person. Okay, if you are lifting weights and you're trying to get stronger or you're trying to build muscle mass and you're not consuming more protein than normal, it's essentially counterproductive. So your exercise is breaking down your muscle. So you need to replenish it with amino acids to repair and to rebuild. It does not have to be in the form of a protein supplementation. We'll talk about protein supplementations, but you should be mindful of the amount of protein that you're consuming throughout the day, spread throughout the day. It's also, if you're not trying to get muscle mass, it's also going to be helping you. Protein helps you build enzymes that allow you to do better with endurance training as well. So if you're running or biking or you're training for a small triathlon, you also want to be more mindful of the protein you are consuming. Okay, protein synthesis. So most people eat a lot of protein at dinner or at night. And then maybe not as mindful of the amount of protein that they're eating for breakfast. Maybe you just have an apple, or you just have a piece of toast, and maybe you just have some pasta for lunch. So not as mindful of it. So then you're only going to be fueling the muscle growth for a few hours a day and breaking down muscle the rest of the time. So our body is constantly breaking down and building up, breaking down and building up this protein. So each time we eat at least 30 grams of protein, it's going to be triggering a burst of protein synthesis that can last about 3 hours. And for some of you, this is very new information, and for some of you, you're really into nutrition research, and so I know that this is more of a refresher for you, and that's fine. If you want to do your own research and go dive deeper into this and talk about the type of protein within those 30 grams to better trigger burst of protein synthesis, that's fine as well. So if you were going to be driving from California to New York, there's no way that you could put all of the gas that you need in your car to get you the entire way, right? So you're gonna have to put gas, drive, stop 4 or 5 hours later, put gas, drive, stop, and can you continue to do that? It's the same thing with consuming protein. You shouldn't eat all of your protein in one meal, just as you're not putting all of the gas in your car to get from here to New York. So the rest would just be spillover, like a gas tank. So there's only so much that we can put into to maximize our performance. So there are a lot of different studies that talk about the amount that we can accept at a time. So here's just one from the University of Texas, showing you that around 30 to 45, maybe 50 grams of protein is what our body can accept at a time, and it would be the same as if we had consumed 90 grams. So eating protein throughout the day with your snacks as well keeps you full for longer, helps you to not have hunger as often. So then maybe you would consume less food if that's something that you find that you're consuming more food. Be more mindful about the snacks that you are eating. The type of protein in that 30 grams is important, and we'll talk about that later. So an animal-based protein versus a plant-based protein. So some studies show that we might need to consume 20 to 25% more plant-based protein to reap the benefits that the animal-derived sources would provide. But I have some slides with some vegetarian type videos, and one is talking about how you could be a vegetarian or a vegan and still be a strength and conditioning person, still be a bodybuilder. So there are plenty of ways that you can consume enough protein if you're getting it from plant-based sources as well. Okay, so spreading out your protein to fuel your muscle growth. So protein distribution is important. You're distributing it throughout the day. As you get older though, so thinking about, again, remember quality of life is one of the themes that I try to have kind of flow throughout all of our discussions. As you get older, so a lot of the things that we talk about kind of are going to be impactful of later on in life. You need to consume more protein as a 50-year-old than you do as a 20-year-old. So when you are younger, when when you're in your 20s and 30s and such, around 0.24 grams per kilogram per feeding. As you get older, though, you need to double the amount of protein. So if you're 150 pounds, 24 grams per feeding for an older person. So if you were to do this calculator as well. And I know a lot of you have done some of your own research, and your goals are to get stronger and bigger, and that's great. Make sure that you're looking at information that is reputable. It's not just from blogs and it's not just opinions. So remember, Point Lama's Ryan Library offers free peer-reviewed journals, which are much more reputable than personal blogs because they're reviewed by a group of scholars who's knowledgeable in that specific field. So if you're doing your own research, make sure that you're not wasting your time and you're doing good research. So here's a picture of our muscles as we get older, and this is something that will happen. So we could continue to lift weights, we can continue to be active, we can continue to increase our protein consumption. However, anabolic resistance, so older adults need more protein at a time to continue stimulating muscle protein synthesis. However, most older adults don't continue to eat a lot of protein, and they might even eat less protein than they did as a younger adult. So sarcopenia is this here. So it's a degenerative loss of muscle mass, which then also impacts your strength. So around 0.5 to 1% loss per year after around age 50. Quality and strength associated with aging. So you're losing quality of your muscles, you're losing the strength of your muscle. It's age related, it's involuntary loss of skeletal muscle mass and strength. People who are physically inactive can lose as much as 3 to 5% of their muscle mass each decade after age 30. So you guys are going to be hitting age 30 in the next decade. So thinking about your future quality of life, you need to continue being active. Remember our activity logs, continue utilizing those, trying to get 150 minutes per week so that you're not starting to lose muscle mass at a younger age. So anabolic resistance, it describes the reduced stimulation of muscle protein synthesis, and it's exacerbated with aging. So same thing, we'll talk about bone strength when we get to minerals and whatnot. Osteoporosis, we're going to be building slower than we are breaking down. So things that we do right now are going to help us to prevent becoming osteoporotic. Okay, so how much is a gram of protein? So I've told you how many grams you need. Sorry, you've told yourself how many grams you need. You've done your self-calculator. So rapidly absorbed protein boosts muscle synthesis after exercise. So that protein synthesis is this biological process that allows individual cells to rebuild specific protein. Before our body absorbs the protein, they're broken apart into the specific amino acid. Different studies will tell you how much can be absorbed. So one study I was looking at recently, the International Journal of Sports Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism, stated that amino acids are absorbed at the rate of 1.3 grams to 10 grams per hour. And that's a pretty large range, right? 1.3 grams per hour, 10 grams per hour. That's a huge difference. So why the large range? So it depends on the protein source. So a protein drink is much more rapidly absorbed than a protein consumed with fiber. So we talked about fiber the last few days. I highly stress the importance of fiber so that we feel full for longer, so that the nutrients are slowly released. So that we're not wasting the nutrients, so that we don't have the high spike in blood sugars and whatnot. But if you're wanting to get your protein fast into your body so that it can be synthesized quickly, a drink or something with not a lot of fiber would be a better choice, because fiber is slowing down that process of nutrient absorption. So for example, whey protein is absorbed at a faster pace, while casein is digested at a much more moderate rate. So here are examples of plant-based protein. Here's an example of, I should update this with the type of iPhone, but the size of your phone, how much protein and here. So I'm sorry I didn't add steak and whatnot. Here's a quote from our book. 2 glasses of milk, 1 egg, 3 ounces of poultry, and you're probably getting 100% of your RDA. 50 grams of protein for a person weighing 140 pounds, 65 grams of protein for a person weighing 180 pounds. So again, this is according to your specific calculation and the type of activity that you're doing. But one of the quiz questions was that true, most Americans are consuming plenty of protein. Most Americans are not needing to consume more protein. Okay, working out. Hopefully you are all doing some sort of movement activity, but for those of you who are really intentional about working out, supplementing. So for those of you who already supplement, this will be much more of a review, and you've probably done more in-depth research, but remember this is a general education course, and some of us in the class have never looked into supplementing. So most people meet their daily protein requirements through just their diet alone, even if you are working out daily. For those of you who your main goal is to build muscle mass or to improve body composition, you might consider looking into protein supplements. Do you need a protein powder supplement? No. Do I need one? No. But it can be part of a healthy diet if you want to use it as part of your diet. I find that just consuming food itself is fine for me, but I am not trying to increase my own muscle mass. So the most common form of protein supplementation. So during this time, our body is able to repair muscle tissue and stimulate muscle protein synthesis to a greater degree than when more than an hour or 2 or 3 has passed. So this is whey protein is your fast digesting protein. A lot of times it's consumed a small amount right before, a small amount right after. We'll talk about timing though with protein supplementation, as there is a lot of new research on the timing of the protein consumption. So whey protein is the most common form of this supplementation. It's not as long-lived, but it's a quick stimulator of protein synthesis. So whey protein comes from dairy, from cows, so it's an animal-based protein, but it's eliminated the lactose and the milk fat. It's a complete protein, so it has all of the essential amino acids. If you were to talk to a registered dietitian, most of them would say, you know what, whey supplements don't have an advantage over other protein-rich foods except for timing and convenience, right? So if you just grab a drink and it's ready. But if you're able to, you could also eat a carton of yogurt, you could have a few pieces of lean meat or fish, and that will stimulate muscle recovery and muscle protein synthesis effectively without a supplement. So a supplement is not needed, but it's definitely easy and it's convenient. Okay, another one that is very common, your graveyard shift of protein. So this is one that a lot of people will take before bed. It works for a long time. It's a slower release of amino acids lasting for several hours. It works overnight, and then it kind of fades from view as whey then takes the center stage as the quickly absorbed one. So casein is a slow digesting protein source that keeps you full, keeps your muscles happy for long periods of time. So other protein powders. So I briefly mentioned soy in our carbohydrate talk. The bottom line with soy is that if you are not consuming a ton, it's not going to interfere with your testosterone levels. So case reports have shown that you would have to consume around 3 quarts of soy milk a day for it to begin feminizing you. It is a complete protein. It is a plant-based protein, and so that is an option as well. So the window of opportunity. So there is a lot of information that refutes itself, or that says one study will show this, another study will show this. Varying information. So some say to split it, some say to take it, here and there. So the window of opportunity in, I would say most current research says it's not as important as it was once thought about, where like, oh no, I've missed my window of opportunity. If you're consuming protein regularly throughout the day, you're probably okay. you can continue using a supplement, but if you're also having protein-rich snacks and regular well-balanced meals, you're probably okay. Here's a natural protein drink, chocolate milk. And you might say, wait, what? You're kind of against dairy. Dairy is not needed, but it's a fantastic post-workout recovery drink. It has a lot of electrolytes in it. It has potassium. It has carbs, fats, proteins, and it helps with muscle recovery. So if you are interested in trying that out, chocolate milk is a good post-workout drink. Okay, excess protein. I am not particularly in favor of the ketogenic diet as a long-lasting diet. Ketosis is when the body is almost completely fueled by fat, so there's very limited access to glucose, to blood sugars. It occurs when a person is on a really strict low carbohydrate diet. So pathological conditions kind of see it as diabetes. So when we cut way back on our calories or carbs, our body switches to ketosis for energy rather than glycolysis or blood glucose for our energy. It can be really hard on your kidneys. People can have kidney problem. It can be hard on your liver. I would say most people are not in favor of this as a sustainable diet. If you are really active and you're taking in more protein than carbs, and you're moving a lot, your body can utilize some of that protein for extra energy. If you're an inactive person though, and you're taking a lot of excess proteins, your body essentially is going to, and this is a very generic statement, but it's essentially going to store it as fat. So our body stores as much carbs as we can. It utilizes the protein, but it doesn't have a place to store protein for later. So whatever is not being used essentially gets converted and stored into fat. Okay, so this is coming from the book, from page 146. A higher protein, lower refined carbs, I'd like to add the word refined carbs, tends to work better than a lower fat, high carbohydrate diet. So higher protein foods are going to allow us to feel full for longer. They're going to have a steadier effect on our blood sugar, so we're not going to have that, diabetes effect. Be careful if you are consuming a lot of proteins that you're not consuming fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are fantastic for our health, for giving us vitamins and minerals, and remember, phytonutrients, plant-based nutrients, nutrients growing from the ground, not found in some proteins. So protein is great, but vitamins and minerals are going to be coming from a lot of our plant-based proteins as well. So kind of to sum it up, mix up your proteins. If they come from plants, eat a mixture of beans and nuts and whole grains and veggies to ensure that you're getting all of your amino acids. Balance your carbs and proteins. Eating more proteins, less refined carbs is better on your blood pressure, your heart, and such. Eat soy, but in moderation. Animal protein is fine, but be cautious with the amount that you're eating. In moderation, I would say, in small amounts for overall health. Bottom line, consume real food, not too much. Be mindful about what you're consuming. And we will continue with one more video.